Hello and welcome everyone to week 8. Week 8 is recovering a sense of strength. Looks like I'm the only one here on the live for today, and that's okay. We've all got our lives, no worries. Um, Holding space for you all. I know that this week was not an easy week for me to stay committed to the artist way. I was lucky enough to have yesterday off, so I was able to focus a lot on the reading the chapter and doing the tasks and the exercise. But up until yesterday, really, I was just kind of going through the motions and really just doing the morning pages. And I did end up having an artist date. I had some time on Sunday, and I ended up doing a beautiful shamanic ceremony, which has to do with burying your old beliefs. I basically wrote them out, and I called in on my guides, and then I, burned them. And then I, offered the energy up, and I buried them in the garden and planted things over it to let beautiful things come from it. And it was beautiful. And that I haven't done a ceremony by myself in a while. And that was really very beautiful, and it reminded me of my roots and my ancestry, and how far I've come as a healer, and just as a soul on this world. And so that was a nice, beautiful reminder for me. But in general, this week has been a lot of emotions. We've got a lot going on energetically between the solar flares and the Schumann resonance and the astrology right now. Intense, intense. A lot of purging, a lot of letting go, a lot of healing, a lot of dark nights, a lot of realizations, aha moments. This is like the time where we're shedding. So, this is a 9-year. So the snake and the symbology of the Chinese New Year is the jade snake. So we're all kind of the snake right now, shedding our old skin. And sometimes it's really uncomfortable. Snakes even have to rub up against things that are hard to kind of get their skin off. And so that's kind of how I'm feeling. I'm feeling that, like, trying to change, but it's not easy. And so in terms of this week, in terms of, you think about your check-in, how have you done with your morning pages? Have you done an artist date yet? If not, why not? What's stopping you? And how have you done with reading the chapter? How have you done with the tasks that are in the 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 book? I do have a little slideshow here, so let me just kind of pull this up so that way we can kind of look at it. It'll help me guide our way as we talk a little bit. So we are Artist Way week. Am I in the right one? Yep. Okay. So we are going to present. So if you are feeling a little bit lost, and I know a lot of are kind of at this point, it's easy to get off the track. Life gets on the way. If I didn't have all you to commit to, I probably would, be in the same boat. It'd be easy not to do this. But the basic principles, really, remember, that's what we want to go back to. We want to remember why we're doing this. We're doing this to heal. We made a contract with ourselves to connect in and to change our lives through our art and through our healing, and to really look at our lives. And some of the topics Julia Cameron is bringing up are really challenging. They're making us look at things that we might not want to, that aren't easy, that are hard reminders of our own frailty and of our own mistakes. That kind of came up with me a lot too. This week is recovering a sense of strength. So this week, Julia Cameron said that we were going to be recovering a sense of strength. This week tackled a major creative block: time. We will always explore the ways in which we have used our perceptions of time to preclude taking risks. And I'm so guilty of this. We will immediately identify and tackle changes we can make in our current life. We will excavate early conditioning that may have led us to where we are. And she's such an archaeologist. Like, I love how we dig in. So this week, like I said, I was just doing the morning pages. I hadn't read it really until yesterday. And then I really focused like the whole day, and really, went through the program and the weekly tasks. And um, she really hits things right in the nail, right on the head, really how we're feeling and, what we're pushing away. And for me, time is a big excuse for me. I use it all the time for everything. I don't have enough time. Um, or, and when I was young, I would use time as an excuse. Oh, I have tons of time for that. You know what I mean? Now that I'm older, I'm like, I'm, too old for that. So it's easy both ways, when you're young and when you're older. And to use it as an excuse to not do the things that you want to do. I have had some really beautiful synchronicities this week. I have um, definitely been connecting in, really working on gratitude, really working on, being able to experience the time that I have and to feel good about it. And like I said, my artist date this week was my was my ceremony, which was beautiful. Morning pages are really natural, pretty fluid for me right now. I'm doing great with them, though they're not the same amount every day. Like one day this week, I think it was like a half a page, but I was like, I'm there, I'm here. I just knew that I had a lot of other things that I had to do. And I wasn't really, some days they've been a lot of pages, when I really need to write and get the things out and kind of communicate. And other days I'm like, but I'm showing up at the page every day and I'm enjoying that. And I've actually had some really cool ideas and things that I should do that I've been trying to act on when they come rather than, just letting the idea disappear. Um, I also went to a yoga class again this week, which I'm very proud of myself. So that's kind of another artist date. So that's kind of two for myself. That's a big deal. But when I first opened up the book this week, and the first thing I read was survival, I was like, oof, okay, this is going to be interesting. And she was like, one of the first sentences she says is one of the most difficult tasks as an artist must face is a primal one, artistic survival. All artists must learn the art of surviving loss, loss of hope, loss of face, loss of money, loss of self-belief. In addition, I mean, that was a huge, huge tackle for me. Hello, Michelle, coming on in.
Hello, my dear. How are you?
I am good. I was just talking about how this week was a doozy for me.
Yeah, it
on
was,
on just about every single level that could possibly exist.
yeah, I truly can relate.
Julia Cameron, the first sentence of the chapter is one of the most difficult tasks an artist must face is a primal one, survival. And she talks about loss of hope and loss of face and loss of money and loss of self-belief. And I'm like, well, that was kind of this week for me. So
Oh,
it
yeah.
was it was a challenging week. Did you
Mm.
how did you meet this week?
Um, with spiritual growth, there were some challenges. I don't know if you followed the saga on Facebook, but I was watching a little dog whose mother went into hospice,
Oh,
and they offered him to me, but I couldn't take him. He's just not a good fit for this house. And then he's like an elderly chihuahua who doesn't like men and has some health problems. I'm like,
oh
so
gosh.
we called rescues and nobody had room for him. So the family's like, well, we're going to have to euthanize because nobody in the family could take him. I'm like heartbroken. So I'm crying and I put it out on Facebook. And through word of mouth, the night before he was to be euthanized, about 8 o'clock, I get a call from somebody who had heard about him and was interested in him. And they
Oh,
picked him up this morning. It was
so wonderful.
it was the most amazing thing. But in the midst of it, when I was really upset and crying and really heartbroken about it, I learned of a new a phrase that was new to me by the Reverend Richard Rohr, and it's like learning to radical acceptance is learning to forgive reality.
Ooh,
Yeah.
forgive reality. Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of
And
why is this happening to me? Yes. Oh, I like it.
Yeah. And so I started playing with my emotions and in that sense, like, can I forgive reality? And I got to a place of acceptance, and that's when everything fell into place. So it's
Oh,
really,
good teacher right there. Wow.
yeah.
Yep.
So emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, this week definitely was. I did a lot of growth as well. And like I feel like I had like three emotions this week. I was like either really angry and grouchy or crying, or I was sleeping, just like really lethargic and really tired, which
Yep, yep,
so
yep.
I only had like three phases this week. And
Mm-hmm.
I I really didn't I came to the morning pages. I was doing great with that, but I didn't even read the chapter until yesterday. I had the day
Mm.
off. And so it was like yesterday I was like all artist way, almost the entire day,
Oh,
kind of
wow,
like
great.
focusing on it and doing the exercises. And it was kind of nice because usually I break it up, but this time it was nice to just kind of have a whole day and kind
Mm-hmm.
of look at it and focus on the meditations and put it into reference with my week and my life. I was like, oh,
Mm.
this is really interesting. The idea of dream killers for this week, I don't know if you read the chapter or not, but
Not yet.
there, she talks about dream killers and how like when you go to college, you've got these people who wanted to do things but they don't, and so then they're teaching you, and she's like, and often they're really negative, their critique is really hard. and
Mm.
and I just remembered that because I was a theater major in college, and I remember everything like, no, your wrist is too high. What is that voice? What is this pitch? What is, like, it was like you could never really quite
Right.
get the good job. Like
Yep, yep.
that never really happened. And then, when we were doing the archaeology for the artist way, I realized I'm not really mad at other people in my life. I'm more mad at myself. Like there were a
Mm.
lot of opportunities that I had that I self-sabotaged or that I did
Mm-hmm.
not do. And I made excuses for them. Like even in my 20s, like there was this part of me that was like, I think so afraid of like being successful or having that life of an artist, which really like I wanted it so bad, but I also was terrified of it,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
I got into grad school and I didn't go. And I was like,
Mm.
and that's the thing that's kind of hard is like I was like, oh, I'm mad at myself. I'm like, I'm not really mad at other people
Right.
because, people are going to give you their advice. But
Yep.
I was like, I wish that and then I was like, well, where am I self-sabotaging right now? Because I realized, as I'm very eloquent and very good at my self-sabotage to the point where I camouflage it from myself. I think
Mm.
it's not obvious
Yep,
self-sabotage.
yep.
It's usually like following my heart self,
Mm-hmm.
but then I blame my heart when really it's not, it's fear. And so I was like, oh, that's an interesting thing. So I went during the archaeology thing, I was kind of, and her questions for me were kind of old, honestly. Like,
Mm.
what did your dad think? What did your mom think? I'm like, I've
Right.
been there. You know what I mean? So for me, it was more like, I need, what did I think about this? And why did, like,
Mm.
so I was really trying to peel the layers of the onion back even further than what she was saying, because I was like, what is the pattern? And I was trying to look at it from her case. She keeps calling it archaeology, right? And like looking at your life as an archaeologist. So I was like trying to do that. And it was really
Mm-hmm.
interesting to do, to kind of like go digging through the patterns of your life and kind of looking at them. So
Right.
that was I had a bunch of little aha moments in my journals. And like
Wow.
she says, like this one comment too, gain disguised as loss, is a potent,
Mm.
this tool to acquire it. Simply brutally ask, how can this loss serve me and where does it point my work? And I think that
Yeah.
that's really what this week for me was kind of looking at yesterday, was just, okay, so I didn't go to grad school, what's to say I can't do it now? And I was
That
like,
was my first
and
thought,
I
I
was, and I was
swear.
like, I was like, I was like, okay, so what are my fears? I'm
Mm.
45, I've got kids. Okay, so, yeah, I probably can't move to New York City. I was like, okay, so I was kind of looking at that. I was like, where does it point my work? I was like, what can I do right now?
Right.
And what do I want? Do I want that? Who am I becoming is the question.
Mm.
And that, because change is uncomfortable.
Yep,
Um,
yep, yep.
but she has one of the exercises was name your dream. That's right. Write it down. In a perfect world, I would secretly love to be at. And I was like, oh, can I write it? Can
Mm,
I think it? You know what I mean? Like, do I want it? Because I know what it was when I was 20. And,
right.
and so it was just kind of interesting of like kind of looking at these things that are kind of resurfacing from,
Mm,
whoever knows how long ago. I,
right.
I I like her exercises. I think they're fun. I think that, she has like she keeps, in the world we inhabit right now, what action can you take this year to move you closer to your true north? And like
Mm,
she's just kind of like, okay, she keeps putting it out there. It's, this week is about time. We use time as an excuse all the time.
yep.
I do. Uh,
Oh, I certainly do.
oh, I can't, I don't have, and I say it all, I'm all so tired, I don't have time, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah.
blah. And she's kind of like, nope, that's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. You can't do it. So that was
Mm,
good. Did you get an artist date in this week?
I did not. No,
I got two in, Michelle.
that's awesome. That's
I
probably
did.
why you're having so many epiphanies.
I, I really am not working. I'm pretty much taking personal day after personal day. I have no time left, but I'm like, I need,
Mm,
I was like, I need to be, I'm not feeling good. And B, I'm like, today was my first full day back at work in like,
gotcha.
since March 22nd.
Mm,
So it's been a long time. I've done like
yeah.
half a day here and come in there, but it's been a while. But so it's been a lot of, but I actually, yeah, I had yesterday, and I just the whole day. So Monday, I did a shamanic ceremony that I haven't done in a
Mm,
long time. I got out everything. I got out all my tools and my feathers, and I was by myself, and I just had did a beautiful rite, of bogus beliefs, you know,
mm,
burning them. So basically, I did a ceremony to burn them and release them, and then I buried them and I planted the garden over them. And so I did this whole beautiful thing. And this week really inspired it because I was realizing how many bogus beliefs and fears I had. And I was like, these need to
mm.
be transmuted because I'm seeing the pattern for these same things going over, 17, 22, 33. Like I'm like, wow, I've done these things.
Right.
I've done these things before, and this needs to be a turning point. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I had a beautiful ceremony, um, Sunday or Monday, I don't remember which day now. And then Wednesday, I said I had off and I did another yoga class, which is big for me. And I did not, at first, I was like, I don't want to go. I have to drive 35 minutes. Is this worth
Mm.
it? I was like, it's only $20. It's kind of no big deal. And then I was like, no, I'm going to go. I'm going to do it. And I was a little bit late, but I still made it. And I'm so glad I went. It was just like
Oh,
so worth it. I felt really good. So, I'm getting better about artist dates and doing things for myself
good.
and yeah, it's been I'm spoiling myself a little bit more. If nothing else, I will say the artist way has taught me how to spoil myself a little bit more.
Nice. That's a wonderful lesson. Yeah,
uh,
and I bet if you were to ask Julie Cameron, pick one thing that I would like for them to take away from this book, that would probably be it, to spend more time with ourselves.
yeah, and there's just something beautiful about, calling it a date with yourself.
Mm,
Right. Like I've noticed like even though like the chakra class, it's not kind of not a date, but it is, it's like it's something that I'm doing by myself, that I'm doing for myself.
mm,
And the ceremony, I probably would have done it anyway, but there was like I was like, no, I was like, that's something for me. That's a sacred space. And
mm-hmm,
I really kind of got everything together and made it really fancy and enjoyed it. And so it's kind of
mm.
just fun when you call it a date because then it makes yourself like you're loving yourself.
Exactly. And I think too about like wooing yourself. Like what would I
Yeah.
do if I were, it's funny when I'm reading for people, and anytime the Ace of Cups comes up, I tell them like this is about falling in love with you. And
Mm,
so when I think of that, it makes me think of like how, if I were to fall in love with me, how would I woo me?
nice. I like that.
Yeah.
At one of the things she talks about in her tasks was planning the ideal day. I had a lot
Mm.
of fun with this one because I love daydreaming and I love traveling. Plan a perfect day in your life. And she said like and then like an ideal day that would be like anything could go. And I started thinking about some of the things I wanted, and I was like, well, I could actually make some of these things happen, like the
Mm.
ideal day. There's a one of the things is I was like, oh, I want to, wake, do like a meditation and, you know, and then I was like, I know there's a monastery not too far away from here. And I looked them
Ah.
up and they have a meditation every morning at 5 a.m. and it's open to the public. So I was like, I could do that. I was like, I could make that happen. And it was just so I had to think about it. And then I Googled it and I was like, ooh. And it was almost scary when I was like, it's possible. I was like, ooh, I can't use that as an excuse anymore.
Mm.
Oh, darn. Okay. I might have, okay. And now I have to commit myself to it because it's not impossible anymore. I know that it's
Mm.
there. But I had fun because I've always wanted to like sleep in a castle. And so
Oh.
I was like, well, the perfect day, sleep in a castle, wake up,
Mm.
to go and get tea in like a little fancy cup in the castle and look out a window at the garden. I was like, so it was just kind of fun to daydream about stuff.
Mm.
I love traveling and I don't do it enough, but and she said, so you might not be able to go to Rome and but you could make a cup of coffee and have a croissant in your kitchen. And I was like, ooh, yeah, that's true. Like,
Mm.
I love how she just kind of challenges you to be like, oh, you can't do that? Yes, you can. Like, start
Yeah.
trying to do it. And I was like, okay. So if I want to sleep in a castle and, do that, it inspired me to start looking down all these other things and avenues that are possible that we can do.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, she makes it very tangible.
Yep. Yep.
And that's really revolutionary.
Yep.
It's like,
And
okay.
And a
Cool.
lot of the weeks I've noticed like some of like the tasks build on each other and they're similar but not exactly the same. But that repetition, like I know there's a science study out there. I think it you need it like 18 times to hear something before you really
Mm-hmm.
learn it, right?
Yeah.
And it was the same kind of thing. And I was like, okay, so like here at week 8, like we've been looking at different dreams and figuring out what we want. And it's really kind of repetitive because really you need to figure out what you want for the universe to help you manifest it. That's
Yeah.
lesson number 1.
Yeah.
So that clarity and being like, do you really want this? Do you really, what are you really dreaming of? What's perfect for you? What's success for you? Like she asks you like if you were to get your perfect dream, what would be the success for that perfect dream? And I was like, "Ooh, that's interesting." And she had this example of how some actress might be this or some actress might be that, or, you know, everyone's idea of success is different. And I realized that
Mm.
when I was younger, um, my idea of success was being a working actress, and I was that. But then I never celebrated the win.
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." I was like, because it wasn't enough. But I didn't tell the universe what else I wanted. And I was like, well,
Mm.
that's really interesting. And it really parallels that kind of spiritual healing and philosophy too, of like being like really clear with the universe. Like, what are
Yeah.
you creating? What are you putting out into the universe? And that clarity brings the synchronicity, because if you're not clear, then it can be muddy and your life feels muddy because that's what you're attracting
Right.
because
Right.
that's what you're putting out there. You're kind of throwing everything at the wall and then everything is coming back to you. So it's muddy. The universe is like, so like the ideal, here's your dream, name it. What is success for this dream? Name it. What's a perfect day? What does it mean for you? She keeps kind of challenging and building with that.
Mm.
I think it's just so good, like not just even in art, but just in everything,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
We're towards the end here. We've only got 4
Wow.
more weeks
My
uh
goodness.
of the book here. So um Next week is recovering a sense of compassion. I don't know if I wrote it down yet, so I'll read it for everyone. Recovering a sense of compassion. Okay.
Okay.
Recovering a sense of compassion next week finds us facing the internal blocks to creativity. It may be tempting to abandon ship at this point. Don't. We will
Mm,
explore and acknowledge the emotional difficulties that beset us in the past as we make our creative efforts. We will undertake healing the shame of past failures. We will gain in compassion as we reparent the frightened artist child who yearns for creative accomplishment. We will learn tools to dismantle emotional blocks and support renewed risk. And the first word is fear.
mm,
So that is going to be another doozy of a week, I'm sure.
mm-hmm.
I will
Yep.
say I have this new technique that I've been working on um, in writing down your fear. I have fears of and then I have resentment of this because it brings up fear. Da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
working through fears and resentments, and I did that the other day, and I felt really good. And so I've
Mm,
been doing like in my morning pages, I've been doing like a mix of like gratitude and fears and resentments and just little like, dreams and notes and things like,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's been feeling really good. I'm actually getting to the point now where I don't like the days when I miss the morning pages. I
Mm.
I'm really
Wow.
starting to love how they make me feel, how they set the rest of my day up. Um,
That's awesome.
some days are not a lot. Some days are just like a half a page, and other days are like, 5 pages, depending
Right.
on what I need to get out. But I'm really liking that kind of showing up to the page and getting those thoughts out before my day starts. I feel like
Yeah.
it helps me when I walk down the stairs to say good morning to everybody else because I'm not on the hamster
Mm,
wheel of thought. I'm not like, give me my coffee. I just need to get these thoughts out of my head. The thoughts are out of
mm-hmm.
my head. And then I'm able to be like, good
Mm.
morning, da 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 da, and start my day. It feels
Yeah.
good. I like it. I like it a lot. I realize so much of because I've done the artist way a few times, I realize so much of my life has taken bits and pieces of this over and over again.
Mm,
But like I do a lot of journaling in the mornings. I do the, tracking my money. I do those little things. But like I really want to try to commit to the morning pages even after this because there's just I'm noticed now because I'm really committing to it. I'm seeing I'm a better person when I get those thoughts out in the morning.
mm.
There's just
That's
something
huge.
about it. It's good. Yeah, yeah. I'm a Gemini moon, right? Blah, 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 blah.
So am I.
So my mind's always like blah, going off. So I feel like it's a good way to start the day.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense.
All right. Well, anything else to share or
No,
add or magic? Thank you for showing up. I appreciate
of
you.
course. I
Appreciate
would.
it
I'm
so
sorry
much.
to have been there so late. My son came back from California and I was making him food.
Oh, that's so good. Doesn't it feel
Yeah,
good for your babies?
it was fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, good night. Goodbye. I will see you next week.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye.